Let me ruin my life today, said no one ever. Nobody wakes up in the morning planning to lose a sale, miss an opportunity, or mess up a meeting. But if you've ever watched someone make the worst decisions, it can look like that, right? Self-sabotage, they ghost opportunities, they blow up relationships, they freeze right when success is 2 steps away. From the outside, it's easy to think, why would they do that? They should know better. Especially when it's someone smart, capable, someone who has the knowledge. But here's the thing, knowing better isn't the same as feeling you can do better. Because when your internal resources are low, when your mind's flooded with fear and stress or old beliefs, you lose access to your best self. Your logic shuts down, your confidence collapses. And in that state, even the smartest person will make a choice that looks irrational. But it actually makes perfect sense for the resources they have at that moment. Think about it. Have you ever done something completely out of character, then later thought, what was I thinking? Or watched someone you care about repeat a mistake and wondered, why can't they just stop? That's what this is about. Realizing that behavior is never random. Every action is the best choice someone can make with the internal resources they have, their knowledge, their emotional state, and their beliefs. And when you get that, really get it, you stop judging and start understanding. That's when leadership, relationships, and growth start to change for real. Let me tell you about Jenna. She's a real estate agent, sharp, experienced, the kind of person who genuinely cares about helping people find the right home. But there was one pattern that kept showing up. Every time she was about to walk into a listing presentation, especially when she knew the sellers were interviewing several agents, something happened. She'd pull up to the house, turn off the engine, and just sit there. Her heart would start racing. Her mind would start whispering, why would they pick me? There are so many better agents than I am. And 5 minutes before a buyer appointment, same thing. The paperwork was ready, she'd done her prep, but suddenly that quiet voice of self-doubt would kick in. Has that ever happened to you? It's happened to me too. That moment where you know you've got what it takes, but your body doesn't believe it yet. When you've done all the work, but right before the moment that matters, your confidence slips through your fingers. When Jenna and I started working together, I realized something important. Her problem wasn't lack of skill, it was a lack of access. See, in NLP, we talk about resources as more than skills or knowledge. They're also your emotional state, your confidence, your calm, your clarity, your courage. She had the competence, the knowledge, the experience, but not the ability to access those states when she needed them most. Her body was reacting as if it was under threat, even though consciously she knew she was safe. When Jenna learned how to change her state, she stopped letting fear drive her behavior. And at that moment, it revealed something powerful, not just about her, but about all of us. Because what looks like hesitation or procrastination or self-sabotage is almost never laziness. It's a strategy, just not one you consciously choose. Here's the first truth. Every behavior, yes, every one, is the best choice a person can make at the moment. Now, I know what you might be thinking. How can blowing up at my team or procrastinating on a big project be the best choice? Because the mind doesn't care about the best in a logical sense. It cares about safety. In NLP, we say that all behavior is adaptive. It serves a purpose. Even the one that looks destructive is at some level trying to help. That argument you regret, it might have been your nervous system's way of regaining control when you felt powerless. That delay on an important decision, Maybe it was your brain buying time to avoid rejection or failure. We are all wired for survival first and performance second. Behavior is the output of what's happening inside our state, our emotions, and our internal representations, as the NLP communication model explains. An external event triggers an internal experience filtered through beliefs, memories, and values, which shape your state, and that drives behavior. So when you see someone acting irrationally, what you're actually seeing is a perfectly rational response given their internal filters. And here's where most leaders get stuck. They try to first fix the behavior instead of understanding the state that drives it. That's like repainting a car when the engine's misfiring. Once you see behavior as feedback, not failure, everything shifts. And if this idea feels familiar, it's because it connects to one of the most powerful presuppositions we covered earlier, that people are not their behaviors. If you haven't watched that one yet, go back to the video after this. I'll link it in the description. Because together, these two ideas will completely change how you see people and how you lead them. You stop asking, what's wrong with them? And start asking, what need is this meeting right now? That's when real change and real influence begins. Resources are your knowledge, skills, and state. So now that we've seen how behavior is the best choice a person can make in a moment, let's talk about what actually shapes that choice, our resources. In NLP, resources aren't just money, time, or education. They include everything that gives you access to better options, your knowledge, your skills, most importantly, your state. Because the truth is, when your state changes, your whole world changes with it. You've probably felt it, those moments when you're on, confident, creative, everything that flows. And then other times, one small little trigger and your confidence drops to zero. That's not lack of ability, it's lack of access. When you're stressed or flooded with self-doubt, your nervous system shifts into survival mode. That prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, creativity, and perspective, literally goes offline. You don't lose intelligence, you lose access to it. That's why in moments of pressure, even high-performing leaders can make choices that don't reflect their potential. Their brain isn't in a resourceful state. So what do you do when that happens? You resource yourself back. That's exactly what I coached Jenna to do. We created something called a resource anchor, a simple way to trigger a powerful state on command. It works like this. You think back to a time when you felt unstoppable, confident, grounded, in flow. Relive it fully. The sights, the sounds, the feelings in your body. As that emotion builds, add a unique physical cue like pressing two fingers together or tapping your knuckle or saying a specific word in your mind. That cue becomes an anchor for that state. It's based on the same principles Pavlov discovered over a century ago. Remember the dogs that salivated at the sound of a tuning fork? They learned to associate the sound with the state. Your mind and your body work the exact same way, except you get to choose what you anchor. Jenna practiced that until it became second nature. So before every listing appointment, instead of spiraling into self-doubt, she'd press her anchor and instantly feel calm, confident, and capable. Her skills didn't change, her access to them did. That's the power of managing your state. It gives you back your choices, because when your resources expand, your possibilities expand too. So start by shifting your physiology before you make a big decision or have a difficult conversation. Take 90 seconds to breathe deeper, roll your shoulders back, and stand tall. Your nervous system listens more to your body than it does to your thoughts. The moment your body feels safe, your mind starts opening up again. Once Jenna learned how to shift her state, sometimes in just seconds, she stopped waiting to feel ready. and started showing up ready. That's what happens when you expand your internal resources. Your choices multiply, because the truth is, you don't need to push harder. You just need more access to what's already inside of you. Think about it. When you're calm, centered, and confident, you naturally have access to patience, empathy, and creativity. Those states open up better decisions. But when you're tired, anxious, or overwhelmed, your brain shrinks its options down to survival mode. You stop responding and start reacting. That's why the goal isn't perfection, it's resourcing. You can't control every situation, but you can prepare yourself to meet it with flexibility and clarity. That's what we call state management in NLP, your ability to stay connected to your best self under pressure. Here's how you can build that kind of resourcefulness long term. First, keep adding to your mental library. Every new skill, framework, or insight expands the map of what's possible. Leaders who keep learning create teams that feel safe to do the same. And when your people are growing, your organizational choices multiply. Second, remember that you don't have to do it all alone. When you own your own resources are running low, borrow someone else's, lean on a mentor, peers, or coaches whose stake can lift yours. Sometimes connection is the fastest shortcut to clarity. And third, practice recovery as seriously performing. Rest isn't a reward, it's a resource. It's how your brain integrates learning, resets emotions, and restores creativity. Jenna did all three. She learned to manage her energy, her focus, her environment, and in doing that, she didn't just change her business results. She changed how she felt showing up for them. Because when you resource yourself consistently, you stop depending on circumstances to feel capable. You realize that confidence, clarity, and calm were things you had to find. They were things you could generate. That's the real power of this presupposition. More resources don't change what you can do. They change who you can be at any moment. So let's rewind for a second. If Jenna had stayed in that pattern, letting fear and self-doubt run the show, here's what her life might have looked like. Another year of hesitation, another year of almost, another year of watching opportunities pass, wondering why others kept winning the listings that she wanted. And eventually, she might have started believing the worst lie of all, that she wasn't meant for more. That's the hidden cost of not understanding this presupposition. When we judge behavior instead of resourcing it, we trap people and ourselves in the same loop, because you can't grow while you're defending yourself from your own judgment. But when Jenna learned how to shift her state to anchor her confidence instead of fear, everything changed. The same woman who used to question her worth started walking into homes with quiet certainty. She didn't try to perform confidence, she generated it. She learned to pause before panicking, breathe before reacting, and ground herself before deciding. You could see it in the way she spoke, and how clients trusted her, and the results that followed. Her listings grew, but more than that, her freedom grew. Because once you know how to resource yourself, you stop being a prisoner of circumstance. You can meet any challenge, business, personal, or emotional, with options instead of overwhelm. So ask yourself, which path are you choosing right now? The one where you repeat what's familiar, or the one where you resource yourself for what's next? Because only one of those leads up to freedom. When you see people, including yourself, as doing the best they can with the resources they have, judgment turns into understanding, and frustration becomes growth. True leadership isn't about pushing harder, it's about resourcing better. When you do that, you stop reacting and start leading. Ready to expand what's possible together? Click on the next video and let's keep growing.